The EPCHS. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the EPPodcast.com.
And belly on up to my 9-foot homemade oak bar and pour yourself a cold one. My name is Chris. I'm one of your neighbors here in Evergreen Park, and this is the EP Podcast, and it's a special week this week. First of all, if you're subscribing on one of the podcast apps, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, if you're at the EPPodcast.com, you'll notice in your list of shows, there's an audio version and a video version. Now, if you just want audio, stay with the audio version. Everything's going to be pretty much the same. If you want to check out the video, though, you can do that. In fact, every app, even Apple Podcast, I had somebody ask me about this, like, hey, if you go to video ever, I can't watch it on Apple Podcast. Yes, you can. Open up your Apple Podcast app, and there's a little button in there. You'll see it where you can open up the episode. When you open the episode up, a video player will appear. But don't worry, if that's too complicated, just listen to my voice and the guest today and enjoy the show. Everybody except for Spotify can do this. We're trying to get a workaround set up because I like to host the show a specific way. And Spotify wants to force me to move all of my podcast over to Spotify to put video on them. So I'm working on a solution to that. So if you're a Spotify user or you're using the version that says audio, there's no pictures. If you're using the video and you're not on Spotify, you can watch us this week. Why are we doing this? I'm not switching the whole podcast over to video. Don't worry about it. Not yet. But what I am going to do is this week, we're going to feature videos that we've taken over the last 6 to 9 months, places that we visited, Evergreen Park businesses, actually, like people that we've met that have kind of a cool spot here in the EP, and we want you to know about it. So we're going to release a new video every day this week. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, these are guests that you've already heard on the show, or maybe you missed them, but you're going to get to see the video version of the interview in the feed. So if you're on Apple Podcast again, or iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts, I don't even know if those exist anymore. Like, there's a lot of podcast players. If you're on one of them, you're going to get the video sent directly to you. These videos have been on YouTube and our YouTube channel for a while now, but not everybody knows that we'll put out video versions of a lot of our interviews. This kind of exposes that to you. So it's kind of a fun week this week, a little bit of a shorter episode today. We got a great guest on, and then all week long, previous guest video version released on the podcast feed. So you're going to get a new video today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fun little thing we're going to do this week. Then everything's back to normal next week, and the YouTube channels where you get the video, and everywhere else is where you get the audio of the EP podcast. All right, I think I've explained that well enough. Let's get into the show today, and it's brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. This is my bank. This is where I go. I walk up there, 95th and Pulaski. I know everybody in there. They're tired of seeing me, I think. Actually, I don't think they're tired of seeing me. They're always so friendly when I walk in there. And I have so many different accounts. I've got accounts for the kids. I got a junior savers account. I got an account that my college student uses. I can send her money. All the accounts are linked up. So if she needs something, I could send her some extra cash. And then I have my total access checking account. I get a free ATM wherever I go. Doesn't matter if there's a fee on there. They will take whatever fee is placed on me and put it back in there, making every ATM nationwide free. There's a $300 bonus when you open up this account with qualifying activities. Great mobile banking tools. My teenagers love them, so that's how I know that their mobile banking is solid. Award-winning customer service, and there's no overdraft charges. Switch to a true community bank now. It has never been easier. The First National Bank of Evergreen Park, member FDIC. Whether you're just listening or you're watching, let's get to our guest today on the EP Podcast. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, Dr. Michael Thomas is joining me from Evergreen Park Community High School. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing great.
Can I call you Doc? Do people call you Doc?
Yeah, they call me Doc. They call me Mike. They call me whatever.
Are you a doctor of science, physical education, or funk? Because
I'm a doctor of education.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I guess 2 out of the 3 are covered, you know?
Well, I found this really interesting about you, and it really stood out when we were emailing back and forth and setting up the interview, that you are the the Science and Physical Education Department chair. Like, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. And that was not something we were going to talk about, but I'm jumping into it right away because I have never thought that a science teacher or somebody that was into the sciences would also be into the phys ed. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that distinction, that kind of slash there.
I think I'm the only person in the state of Illinois who might have that slash.
Yeah.
So I consider myself like Cordell Stewart. You know, if you can remember the analogy
nice
there.
Callback.
But yeah, it was one I was hired originally to be the science department chair. And then our athletic director used to oversee physical education. And then when they took physical education away from our AD because an administrator couldn't be the department head, they decided to give me the title of PE department chair. You know, our principal at the time said it was, well, you've got a background in coaching. I know you've done a lot of like weight training and things like that. So he's like, I know you're familiar with the spaces and what should be going on in the spaces. So he anointed me the physical education department chair as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a little biology that kind of runs into the phys ed. There's a little physics, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going
but
tomorrow. I'm meeting with a couple teachers, and we're designing on some upgraded curriculum for our advanced strength and conditioning class. So,
okay.
We've been discussing what movements we want. What kind of blocks do we want to develop for the students in terms of mobility, plyometrics, acceleration drills, strength training. So I feel like it does all kind of relate there. I think due to years of coaching and stuff, I feel like I do have some knowledge in the field at least to share my ideas with the teachers in the department. So yeah, it's been a fun thing to get to participate in both of those.
The other interesting thing is, and we sometimes see these ties between the high school and the District 124, the grammar schools, Central Middle School, but they're two different school districts. You're working in 231, which is the high school. You're on the board for 124, which is the other schools. That must give you a unique perspective when you sit on the board of the grammar schools and Central Middle School when you're in the high school, and also you probably bring some things back when you're inside the high school. What is that like?
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely like you're explaining the dynamic there, where as someone who works in the high school, you kind of see what are the kids coming in with as freshmen.
Well, they're probably amazed by the difference in the buildings, right?
Yes.
If they're coming from Central. I just recently did a tour of Central Middle School. We were talking about it. Such a difference between that school when they get to the high school. Central Middle School needs some fixing up. And that high school is this big, beautiful, big open, like hallways and much different experience.
Yeah, let's just say the parent tours are easy. It's an easy sell. But it's definitely one of those where, you see what the students are like, when you get them in high school. And then kind of thinking back to where did some of these behaviors maybe start? Where did some of maybe the academic, disparities? I think it's great. I know since I've been at the high school, we've done some articulation with Central Middle School in terms of what should their science teachers be doing to get the kids prepared for high school. I mean, the teachers are usually pretty involved in terms of wanting to make sure that the kids are prepared. But sitting on the board is kind of interesting because then you get to see it from the perspective of really getting to dive into here's what the curriculum are for these grade levels. Here's kind of some of the discipline here. I'm working with the, superintendent and the deans and all that stuff on the handbook committee. So it's kind of a nice thing to get to see how do these two pieces, even though they're independent, how do these two pieces work together? To try to get that child to where we want the kids to be when they end up graduating as, seniors and going on to college and going on to the rest of their lives. It's just kind of nice to be able to have a hand in, I guess, both.
Yeah,
ways.
no, I mean, and you bring up something really interesting there where you're talking about how involved all the teachers are at all the different levels, at the high school, at the younger levels as well, because that's one of the things that's always stood out to me in Evergreen Park is how involved the teachers are at every level in trying to get the kids all the way through to Evergreen Park Community High School and then get them off and get them to college. Your principal, Matt Dugan's been down here before, and he's talked about the idea of the main goal is how do I get these kids all to college and get as much of it paid for as possible. There is a goal there is a driving force that I don't think you see at every institution. And the other thing that I notice is how aware you guys are when it comes to the transition into high school. I know you just did a shadow day for 7th graders.
Yep.
And you're also looking for a parent meet and greet coming up. Is that something that's happening?
Yeah, so we're looking at having, in the spring, having a parent meeting for 7th grade parents.
Why is it important to get into it in 7th grade? Because to me, it's like here's the thing. When I was in grammar school, I went to Catholic school. All right, I grew up at 80th and Spalding in the Ashburn neighborhood. St. Denis was my parish. There's not a school there anymore. I think it's now a CPS building.
Okay,
but at the time there was a school there, and I remember even as early as the 6th grade. They started having all the schools come in, but they had the schools come in there because they were recruiting you. It was all the Catholic schools, right?
Yeah.
So it made sense, 6th, 7th grade. I would think the vast majority of the kids that are moving up from the 7th grade into the 8th grade are then moving on to Evergreen Park Community High School. So why is it important to start with these 7th graders?
I think that, like you said, I think we are getting the vast majority of the kids.
Yeah.
But I think it's also one of those where it's a different building. You know, I mean, and in theory, it's a different district as well. So we really want to make sure that when the parents are coming into the building, when the kids are coming into our building, that they know the lay of the land. You know, we like to show them, here's where classes are, here's where, facilities are. If you're an athlete, here's, where you would go to take care of these things. And we think that the earlier we sort of introduce the students to those things, the smoother that transition becomes, because we see it like the kids who don't participate in these programs, they're the ones who typically are walking around that first 2 or 3 days of school looking like, where do I go? Having a senior tell them to go down the wrong hallway.
Right.
The classic pranks that just never get old.
The seniors do that? I always thought the sophomores were the jerks.
Yeah,
the sophomores were the jerks.
I think they all try to take a turn. You see the kid walking around, you're like, all right, he has no idea where to go. We're going to send him to the opposite end of the building. But I think that it's just one of those where having that community feel, having those kids transition does make it a little bit easier. It makes the kids feel comfortable. I mean, I think it's cool because I teach freshmen, and there's a ton of times where they come into my class and it's like a third of my class already knows who I am.
Right.
By that first day freshman year. And it's that's something that I don't think freshman teachers in a lot of buildings get. But I think it's something that really helps kind of set the tone for the building where the kids know me. They understand kind of here's the things that I stand for. Here's the things that the school stands for. So when they come in, they're just ready to go day one. And I think that we found that the earlier we do that, we do a summer bridge program for some of the 8th grade students where they'll come in and they'll go for 2.5 weeks of shortened days just to get introduced to the building. We give them their iPads early so they can figure those out, because in elementary schools they use Chromebooks, we use iPads. So, some of those things that we do to just try to transition the student, just to make sure that when they hit the ground day one, they're hitting the ground running.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you got, I would imagine, a year that's winding down, but you probably have a lot of things that are going on. Are all of them specifically getting ready for the next class that's coming in, or do you have other events that are coming up you want to talk about?
Yeah, no. So we have in the science department, end of the year, we get busy. We'll do a STEAM competition that started before I got there. I think we're in our 14th or 15th year doing it, where the students will pick from a variety of projects. I think this year we're offering 4 different projects to do. We're doing, toothpick bridges. We're doing egg drop devices. We're doing mousetrap cars. And we're having them build boats to try to hold as many pennies as they can.
Mousetrap cars. What are those? I get the egg thing. I remember when I was a kid, we did that, where you put it in something, you try not to break it, you drop it off the building. Yeah. So most of them break.
So the mousetrap car, they're essentially just building a car.
Okay.
That's propelled by a mousetrap.
Huh.
And we go the furthest distance on that one wins. And then we switch up the projects, year to year, just so the kids don't get too familiar with any of them. And also so they don't get bored with just, these are the same options I had, 2 years ago. But they do it. We give the kids, the winners get little trophies. They're little tiny little beakers that say, Evergreen Park Science Competition, first place. But the kids do it. We spend a little bit of class time. Most of the kids end up doing a lot of it on their own. But then they come in, we'll do that on right before spring break. So they get that done. And then we also do a boat competition, which is for seniors.
In the pool?
Yeah. So this year we're moving it up. It's usually we do it on the seniors last Friday, but because we're getting out early, those last 2 weeks for the seniors, there's AP testing. So we didn't want to interfere with that. So we're actually going the Friday before that.
Is it whether or not it floats, propels itself, survives? It's a race?
It's a race across the pool. So the kids build cardboard boats.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And then on by the door at the
beginning. How many of them sink?
Most. But
a bunch of seniors trying to race down a pool in cardboard.
Yeah.
You just do this for your own amusement, don't you?
It's awesome.
This is for your fun. This is your fun.
It's the best day of my year. All right. So we wait down by the pool in the morning, and they bring the boats in. And some of the kids bring them, and like as soon as you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, you didn't even tape the seams here. That thing's going down. But then they all drop them off in the pool decks. End of the day, the students come down. We'll have some classes up in the balcony to get to watch it. I usually MC the event, and we line up, 2 boats in the pool. They race it down. We time them, and we also take how far they traveled. If we get multiple boats that make it across, then it goes to time. If we don't, then it goes to who got the furthest across the pool. Teachers do a boat every year.
You would think they'd be good at it by now.
Yeah.
They probably have seen every design. It's almost cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, then sometimes we do cheat. There might have been a piece
fiberglass.
There might have been a couple pieces of foam
cardboard.
inside of some boats. We don't know. But as I said, it's a blast. We have a good time, and then I feel like that allows the seniors to kind of leave our science department with a good feeling. It's a fun day. A lot of pictures. Kids will dress up. They'll have themes for their boat. We'll be in, whatever they choose to do.
I kind of want to watch it.
And you're welcome.
I want to go.
It's one of those where, it's for seniors because we only make the kids have to take 3 required science classes.
Right.
So if you take an elective as a senior, this is kind of like a perk. Is now you get to participate.
These are the kids that took the elective for science.
Yes.
This is the payoff for
This
them.
is our hook to be like, hey, take another science, and we get to have a little bit of fun.
I like that. That's really smart.
So it's super fun.
That's very cool.
But yeah, nowadays we're getting a lot of juniors that are like, well, I've already taken an elective science. Can I get it? And it's like, no, you'll get to do it next year.
No, you
Wait
can't.
your turn.
No, you hold that over.
Exactly.
You use an event like that. You get that done. Well, very interesting. I mean, you got a lot going on. You're doing a lot if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you I'm surprised that we haven't had you on before. I mean, you're on the 124 board. You've got the physical education and science over at the high school at the same time, which still blows my mind. Okay, you got kids racing boats in the water. The school's got the parent meet and greet that's coming up now that there was the Shadow Day. A busy last month or so here for EPCHS, right?
Definitely, and that's why we need the 3 months on the back end of that.
Yeah. What do you do in the summer?
Vacation.
Yeah, did you get out of Dodge?
Yeah.
Is it like the movie Summer School where the principal's walking along, Dugan's walking along at the end, and he's just trying to find somebody to get for summer school, and everybody's trying to run and jump out the windows? You ever saw that movie?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely it's end of the year.
That?
We end the year with the staff softball game. So we'll be out on the baseball field or the softball field, hitting clinchers.
Yeah.
For our last day of school. We started that tradition, I think, 5 years ago. So that's always a fun way to end the year. And then
it's escape.
Just bonding with the staff. Yeah. And then it's like, all right, game's over. Everybody's out. I do have to come back. I do an extra week before school and after school as part of the department head gig. But yeah, we'll go into, we're going to do a nice hiking trip in northern Michigan in the UP, do some camping. We're going to go to Mexico. Right when school gets out. Yeah, we hit the vacations, get them all lined up, because then it's like, hey, you come back in August and it's time to run it back.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
very
that's
cool.
Definitely our
I'm planning myself too. I'm going to Germany.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, we're going to go. Just me.
Oh, that's
just me.
That's nice.
Single guy life.
Yeah, traveling.
I'm just going to Germany. Just on a whim. Anyway, Dr. Mike Thomas, thanks so much for joining us down here on the EP podcast. Enjoy the last month or so over at the high school, Evergreen Park Community High School. Sounds like it will be busy right up until the end.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. It is now time for your EP podcast Word on the Street, brought to you by Spoken Vine Wine Bar and Bottle Shop, northeast corner of 95th and Kedzie. There is still another wine tasting event coming up, actually two of them on Sunday, April the 27th. Spring Whites Tasting. Taste some white wines at 3:30 in the afternoon or 6 p.m. on Sunday. Get your tickets now before they run out. Enjoy the small plates and the amazing array of wines they have there. It's also a great place to hang out any day of the week with friends and family. SpokenVineWines.com. Remember to get into the Evergreen Park Public Library before this month is over, because Frank Murray over there and the entire library is forgiving your fees as long as it's an EP book and you didn't lose it. For $1, every fine that you have accumulated is going to be erased from the ledger. Well, you still got to pay $1. Check it out over at the Evergreen Park Public Library. Kelly Duffy, the village clerk, was in last week. If you missed that episode, she talks about the big village-wide garage sale and the Golden Age of Hollywood Adult Prom coming up very soon on May the 8th, kicking off at 5, going till 8 p.m. at the Community Center, 3450 West 97th Street. It's $15 per person for residents, $20 for non-residents. This prom is for adults 55 and over. It's going to be all about the glamour and the glitz of Hollywood. Should be a wonderful night. Make sure you check that out. You can go to the village website, evergreenpark-ill.com. There's also some great stuff coming up here at the end of the month going into May. One thing happening Saturday and Sunday, the 26th and 27th of April, a two-day pickleball for beginner class open to adults 21 and over, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Maplewell Center, 3450 West Maple. The fee is $59. Definitely something that you're going to want to check out. And off in June, something to mark down if you have a kid, another session of the American Academy of Pediatrics Babysitters class is going to be offered by the youth department, 9 a.m. until 3:30 in the afternoon. On June 11th, ages 12 and older, it's $60 a student, but they're going to learn a lot. They're going to learn life-saving techniques. It's perfect for if you have a kid that wants to babysit and you're nervous. You're like, well, what if something happens? This is going to take a lot of that out of the equation. Registration and payment are due by June the 6th. Any questions? Reach out, 708-229-3377. All right, that's the show. Like I said, we're going to do video all week long for subscribers. So whatever podcast player you use, with the exception of Spotify, I'm sorry, you can check out the videos at the YouTube channel if you have that, or you can try out the EPPodcast.com. But we're going to be releasing video Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Their previous episodes or previous interviews of local businesses, interesting places that we've been to over the last couple of months. So you can check those out, just kind of a way for us to promote our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to see all the bonus content and video interviews and things that we do on that channel separate from the actual weekly version of the EP podcast. We will see you next week right here on the EP podcast, found anywhere podcasts can be found and always at the EPPodcast.com. Bye.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.